I accidentally overheard my parents deciding to leave everything to my brother. That was before Mom sent me a text that cut deeper than any words could. Don't call, don't come. It's over between us. I stared at the screen for a long moment, set my tea down, and typed two simple words. Got it. The house felt impossibly still, yet inside my head alarms were ringing. Anyone who's ever been dismissed by their own family knows that silence can be deafening. By morning, I knew my phone would be flooded with calls, messages, begging me to respond. But that night, I chose quiet over confrontation, peace over permission. People often ask me what my family was like. I usually smile and say, normal, because from the outside, we seem to be. Dad ran 5 restaurants across Portland, Hayes Family Dining, written in bold, gleaming letters on every storefront. Mom handled the accounts, Jason handled the charm. And I handled being invisible. Our Christmas cards were flawless, matching sweaters, forced laughter, Mom's pearls catching the glow of the tree lights. What no one saw was the silence that followed the click of the camera. The subtle cues that I wasn't the favored one. Dad would always say, Jason's got business in his blood. You've got art. Art, as he said it, like it was a contagion. When I was 14, Jason got a brand new mountain bike. I got a secondhand one, spray-painted blue to match his. At 17, he crashed his car texting. Within a week, Dad replaced it. When I received a parking ticket, I lost my car privileges for a month. Yet somehow, I didn't stop trying. When I was accepted into design school in Seattle, I waved the letter at home like a lifeline. Dad barely glanced at it. If you walk away from the restaurants, you walk away from this family, he said. Even then, I understood. My value had always been measured against Jason's success. Mom just stood there, lips pressed tight, nodding silently behind him. Jason smirked as though he had won some invisible prize. And maybe he had. I left without another word. Nights were spent waiting tables. Days were filled tutoring design freshmen. My diet was a steady rotation of instant noodles and caffeine. Every semester, I sent postcards home. No one ever replied. But I kept going. And eventually, I made it. Graduating with honors, I returned to Portland and started small, designing apartments, offices, restaurants. Ironically, much like Dad's own businesses. By the time I turned 33, I had clients who trusted my judgment more than my own family ever had. And yet, when Mom fell ill, I showed up without hesitation. The treatments were grueling: chemo, radiation, specialists in San Francisco. Insurance barely covered a fraction. I didn't stop to weigh the cost. I just paid bills, flights, hotels because family, or so I told myself, deserved it. When her cancer went into remission, she sent me a single text. Thank you for everything, sweetie. No phone call, no embrace, just those words. A few years later, Jason called with his latest idea, a food truck. Within 6 months, it was a disaster, failing harder than his first car. I wired him $25,000 to keep him afloat, then another $15,000 to cover broken equipment in Dad's restaurants. He boasted about restructuring the business and never once acknowledging my help. It's strange how love can make you keep writing checks long after the account is overdrawn. I kept telling myself I was helping the family, hoping this time they might finally see me. But families aren't built on transactions, they're built on respect. And in our house, that word was never meant for me. So, when Dad called another family dinner to discuss business, I said yes, thinking perhaps this time they'd seek my ideas, not my money. Instead, that dinner became the night I faced the unvarnished truth. Later, standing on the stairs, I heard him say, "Everything goes to Jason." That night, I finally understood something I had ignored my entire life. I was never meant to be part of the legacy. I was just the funding. I wasn't supposed to be home that evening. The plan had been simple: grab takeout, crash early, and forget about the awkward family dinner from the week before. The one where Dad had asked for $50,000 as casually as if he were ordering dessert. But I'd realized I'd left my old design portfolio in their attic, sketches from college I needed for a presentation, and drove over. It was close to 7 when I arrived. The house glowed warmly behind the curtains, the kind of light that used to mean safety. As I stepped inside, the smell of Mom's pot roast hit me first. For a fleeting moment, it almost felt normal again. I set my keys down quietly, preparing to call out. Then I heard my name. Dad's voice, low, firm, cut through the kitchen air. Jason's the only one who actually cares about this family. He's the future. She just goes about her life. Jason's laugh followed, easy and smug, settling over the room like a weight. Then everything goes to me. Dad's reply sliced through me like glass. Everything. The house, the restaurants, the accounts. She's had enough from us already. Mom hesitated. Her fork clinked against her plate. She did pay for my treatment, Stephen. Dad's tone hardened. That was her choice. You don't reward someone for doing what they should have done out of love. Jason chuckled again. Guess it's official. I'm the heir. I froze at the bottom of the stairs, my heart thudding so loudly it drowned out their words. They were rewriting history. Years of sacrifices, quietly endured, reduced to background noise. I wanted to shout, to tell them I wasn't asking for inheritance. Only decency, but I couldn't move. The part that shattered me wasn't Dad's words. It was Mom's silence. She didn't defend me, didn't whisper a protest. She just kept eating. I backed away slowly, each step measured, afraid the floorboards would betray me. My fingers brushed the banister, cold and smooth, like it was witnessing everything silently. By the time I reached the door, my chest felt hollow. Driving home, the scene played on repeat in my mind like a broken reel. Dad handing everything to Jason, Jason laughing, Mom's quiet indifference. When my phone buzzed that night, I half expected guilt, maybe Mom realizing I'd overheard everything. Instead, the screen flared with a message that felt like a match striking glass. Don't call or don't come. It's over between us. No punctuation, no explanation, just finality. I stared at it for a full minute, then set my tea down and typed 2 words. Got it. No tears, no thrown phone, no desperate need to understand. The clock ticked. The tea grew cold. Silence filled the apartment, pressing against me until it felt alive. Anyone who's ever been erased by someone they love knows this pain. It doesn't explode. It seeps, quietly rewriting memories, moment by moment. That night, I sat in the dark, scrolling through every payment I'd ever made for them. Hospital bills, credit cards, restaurant utilities. Every dollar was a record of my desperate effort to belong. And as I read each line, I understood. Belonging had never been an option. Sleep didn't come. Outside, the city was hushed, a thin mist crawling over streetlights. I sat at my kitchen table, phone face down, staring at nothing. That message echoed in my mind. Don't call or don't come. It's over between us. You might think a line like that would break someone. I didn't break. I froze, caught in that stillness that precedes a storm shifting its course. When dawn finally crept across the counter, I opened my laptop. Emails, invoices, auto payments, one line after another. Reminders that I had been quietly financing the people who had just cut me off. Mom's prescriptions, Jason's debts, 2 restaurant utility bills, insurance premiums, all set to renew automatically. Each line tethered me to them with invisible chains. I scrolled again, then clicked cancel on the first one, the next, the next. Each click rang louder than the last, a quiet rebellion only I could hear. I opened another tab and checked my balance. Months of work, late nights, sleepless deadlines, all drained to cover their crises. And for the first time, the money wasn't proof of belonging. It was proof that I had finally taken back control. I whispered to the empty room, not anymore. By mid-morning, I had severed every tie. No payments, no safety net, no access. The connections that had bound me to them were gone. Then I turned to the folder still sitting on my table, the business proposal I had brought to that family dinner. The one they had dismissed, mocked, ignored. I flipped through it carefully. Cost analysis, renovation plans, branding concepts, my work, my time, my mind, all written out, all called a waste. So I decided to make it matter. That afternoon, I reached out to a contact I'd met at a hospitality conference months earlier, a project manager at Pacific Restaurant Group. Hey, I said, keeping my tone light. Remember that sustainability concept I mentioned? I've got a full proposal ready. Can we go over it? Tomorrow? He asked. Tomorrow, I confirmed, hanging up and leaning back in my chair. For the first time in months, the air in my apartment felt clean, almost sweet. That evening, Jason's name flashed on my phone screen. Then Dad's. Then Mom's. I didn't answer. Not because I no longer cared, but because for the first time, I cared for myself. By midnight, the last trace of them was erased from my finances. The only sound was silence, and in that silence, something new began. A calm I hadn't known before. The calm of someone who finally stopped begging for love from the wrong people. They wanted it to be over between us? Fine. I would show them what over really looked like. The next morning, my phone erupted. 37 missed calls before 9 a.m., to be exact. Mom, Dad, Jason, unknown numbers. Voicemails stacked one after another, their voices blending together into a static chorus of panic and frustration. Sharad's voice cracked halfway through my name before he hung up. Jason's message was shorter, sharper. You selfish brat, fix this. Mom's came last. Her tone was soft, rehearsed. Sweetheart, please call us. This isn't like you. I muted the phone and turned back to work. 3 design proposals were due that week, 2 client meetings, and 1 very important email from Pacific Restaurant Group waiting in my inbox. When I opened it, my chest unclenched. The subject line read, "Loved your concept. Can we meet tomorrow to discuss partnership?" I smiled. They had thought cutting me off would destroy me, but all it did was clear space for something better. By noon, their calls turned desperate. Dad sent an email with the subject, "Urgent. Restore payments immediately." Jason texted, "You're ruining the restaurants." Then followed it with, "You owe us, Rena." I put the phone face down, poured a cup of coffee and whispered, "I don't owe you anything." That evening, I left the office later than usual. The garage was half lit, the low hum of fluorescent lights bouncing off the concrete. As I reached my car, someone stepped out from the shadows. Jason? "Hey," he said, voice sharp, eyes glassy. "You've been ignoring us." "Busy," I replied. He stepped closer, his hand flicking the payments back on. "No." His face reddened. "You think you can just walk away? You think you're better than us?" I met his gaze evenly. "No, Jason. I think I finally stopped pretending we're family." He clenched his jaw, his hand twitching like he wanted to grab me, but before he could, footsteps echoed. Tom, one of my coworkers, appeared with 2 others. "Everything okay, Rena?" Jason glanced at them, then back at me. "This isn't over." "Yes," I said quietly. "It is." He stormed off, muttering something about lawyers and betrayal, but the tremor in his voice betrayed the truth. He already knew he had lost control. 3 days later, Madison appeared at my office. Her eyes were swollen, makeup smudged, and she looked like she hadn't slept in days. "I'm sorry to come here," she said, clutching a folder to her chest. "He doesn't know I'm here." I gestured for her to sit. "Jason," she said softly, "you need to see this." She slid the folder across the desk. Papers tumbled out. Receipts, bank statements, transaction summaries, restaurant funds wired to personal accounts, a Rolex purchase, Vegas trips, first-class flights to Miami, tens of thousands of dollars siphoned from the restaurants over 3 years. I looked up at her. "You found this?" She nodded. "I've been helping with bookkeeping since we got engaged. At first, I thought the missing amounts were mistakes, but it's him. He's been stealing from your parents' business for years." Tears welled in her eyes. "I'm leaving him. I can't marry someone who steals from his own family." I leaned forward. "Madison, you just gave me exactly what I needed." The next afternoon, my phone buzzed. "Dad, family meeting tomorrow, 2, Bridge Cafe downtown. No greeting, no question, just a demand." Perfect. Bridge Cafe smelled of burnt espresso and damp coats. They were already there when I arrived. Mom staring out the window, Dad stiff in his seat, Jason scrolling his phone. As I approached, all 3 looked up in perfect unison, predators spotting prey. Dad spoke first. "Your childish tantrum is destroying the family business." I laughed softly. "Childish? You mean cutting off the money you were using without asking, Mom? He reached for my hand. Sweetheart, we can fix this. Just turn the payments back on. I pulled my hand away. No. Jason leaned back, smirking. She's bitter. Always has been. I opened my bag and pulled out a small stack of papers. Funny. You might want to read these before calling me bitter. I slid Madison's folder toward him. Receipts, bank transfers, every line item meticulously documented. Jason's smirk faltered. What is this? Evidence? Of how you've been stealing from the restaurants for 3 years, I said evenly. Dad snatched the papers, his face drained, then flushed red. Where did you get this? From someone tired of cleaning up after you. Mom covered her mouth, whispering. Jason. He shoved his chair back. These are fake. She made them up. Jason's voice was sharp, defensive. I leaned forward, calm. I didn't make them up. Your fiancé gave them to me. His eyes widened. Madison, she left you? I cut in. Smart woman. For the first time, Dad looked lost. Even if this is true, he said, voice trembling, it's still family business, right? I met his gaze evenly. Family helps family remember. Jason sneered. You think you're better because you make fancy houses for rich people? No, I said, standing. Because I build something real. Something that lasts. I reached into my bag and pulled out another folder, placing it on the table. The business proposal they had, called a waste of time. I sold this to Pacific Restaurant Group yesterday, I said. $500,000. Mom's fork slipped from her fingers. Jason stared, unable to process my words. Dad's face went completely pale. They loved it, I continued. Said it's exactly the eco-friendly design they wanted for all 40 of their restaurants. Looks like my useless degree finally paid off. Jason slammed his hand on the table. You stole our idea! No, I said, calm as ever. You rejected it. Big difference. Silence stretched across the cafe. Only the clinking of dishes from the counter filled the air. I took a slow sip of coffee. Let's see how your chosen son saves you now, Dad muttered, low, almost a growl. You'll regret this. Maybe, I said, gathering my things. But at least I'll regret it on my own terms. As I walked toward the door, Mom's voice followed, weak and trembling. Rena, please! I turned just enough to meet her eyes. You told me not to call, not to come, remember? Her lips parted, but no sound came. Outside, rain had started to fall, a steady rhythm against the pavement, washing away everything I was leaving behind. Light fell steady and cleansing, washing over me as I stood outside, breathing in the air and letting the noise of the cafe fade behind me. For the first time in my life, I wasn't shaking, I wasn't afraid. I was free. That night, I came home to quiet. No calls, no emails, no messages. I turned off the lights, poured a glass of wine, and opened my laptop. $500,000 waited in my account. Not revenge money, not guilt money. Just proof that I didn't need their permission to matter. For years, I had been the one bailing them out. Now they would have to learn how to survive without me. I closed the laptop, took a slow sip, and smiled. Peace had a flavor. It tasted like freedom and Cabernet. 6 months passed before I heard anything. It was Aunt Patricia who finally called, her voice carrying that peculiar mix of pity and gossip only relatives can master. They lost everything, honey, she said. All 5 restaurants, bankruptcy filings, lawsuits, the works. Jason's facing embezzlement charges. Your father's working at a hardware store. Your mother part-time at Macy's. I didn't say a word. I just looked out my office window at the city skyline, the sound of my team laughing in the next room. Did they ask about you? Patricia hesitated. I think they finally understand, I said, almost laughing. Maybe, but their understanding had come too late. That night, I scrolled through old messages. Mom's text still glowed on my screen. Don't call or don't come. It's over between us. For the first time, I felt no pain reading it, only distance. I typed one last message, never sent it, and whispered it into the quiet. Got it. The next morning, I opened my studio early. Light poured in, clean and bright, and the past felt smaller in that glow, like something I had already outgrown. Sometimes the best revenge isn't loud. No yelling, no begging, no proving anything. Just the quiet satisfaction of walking away and letting the truth do its work. If you've ever had to choose distance over damage, you know exactly what that feels like.